indictments against a lot of people. A lot of people fighting for travel. I understand some of them even fighting to travel to Lethem, although Lethem is a part of Guyana, because you might left to go to Lethem and the plane end up in Brazil, and then you get a trip from Brazil straight to the US, free of cost. Free of cost. So I sitting back and I waiting. And I sitting back and I waiting because I know, having some knowledge of how the system works, that there's no way that Ram, a convicted drug trafficker, would have been sentenced to time served if he did not give them valuable information. Government functionaries. And if the feds had him there for any length of time, as I've said, it must be targeted questioning. The feds is not like these people we get in Guyana asking us a stupid question. They will be targeted questioning about specific incidents, about specific things they would have questioned him about. And I say again, the fact that he was allowed to continue to travel and might still be in the US should be cause for concern of all of those people like the vice president who nonchalantly say, oh, it's not a matter for the government, it's a matter for the police hierarchy to deal with. They seize his phone as the whole thing is sealed, the case sealed. In other words, they are revealing it to the public. But hey, people body got to be biting. People body got to be biting. I don't know the details of the case, but what I know, that in order for a drug trafficker like that Ram to be sentenced to time served and for the thing to be sealed, is that the canary was there. The canary, he sang a nice tune. People but he got to bite. All of them who involved.
In a house rent-free in Essequibo, which is owned by a businessman. So he's compromised. And then shortly after, this Guyana police force received 10 vehicles from the same businessman. So if Caesar was compromised, it means that the Guyana police force was also compromised. And we gotta be concerned. Because the US don't just pull you in just like that. They wait until they build a case against you. And if you watch all them drug people pulling for drug trafficking, none never get acquitted. All get convicted. They'll have the information there.
One love, Delta9 family. Welcome back to the flight. Now, if you haven't already, take some time out. Press that thumbs up button and subscribe so that you'll stay updated on all these entertaining, trending topics in Guyana and the diaspora. Thanks.
The time served and sealed his case. Let me read that back. U.S. court sentences drug convict Barry Dataram to time served and they seal his case. This is news source on May 31st. Let me read that. It's not too long. 16 months after he traveled to the U.S. and was arrested and charged for outstanding drug-related cases, convicted Guyanese drug trafficker Barry Dataram has been sentenced to time served. Dataram had been found guilty in Guyana and served jail time on a number of drug trafficking charges locally. Dataram, who had been found guilty in Guyana and served jail time on a number of drug trafficking charges locally, traveled to the United States of America in January 2023 and was promptly arrested on arrival at JFK Airport in New York on outstanding warrants. However, on Wednesday, that's 2 Wednesdays ago, a New York judge imposed a time-served sentence on the convicted drug trafficker. His entire case in the U.S., including the sentencing details, has been sealed by the U.S. authorities. Sections of the indictment have also been sealed, have been redacted. In 2006, a local arrest warrant was issued for him in relation to drug trafficking. He was nabbed in Suriname and handed over to local authorities. After he was convicted on the drug trafficking charges, he was sentenced to 5 years in jail. After his release, Dataram kept a low profile but got his U.S. passport renewed and decided to make a trip to the U.S. in January 2023. While the details of his indictment were never made public, it was suspected that the indictment were linked to a number of various drug operations that originated in Guyana with operational links in the U.S. Dr. Ram now continues to live and work in the United States of America. Oh, beautiful. This is a man who is a U.S. citizen. They're in Guyana for all the years, decided to renew his passport and travel to U.S., knowing that there were warrants there for him, traveled to U.S. in January 2023. He was promptly arrested, and then to hear now that the man was sentenced to time served, and they sealed, what they say, he sentenced to time served, and the whole thing is sealed, the case sealed. In other words, they are revealing it to the public. But hey, people Bati got to be biting. People Bati got to be biting. I don't know the details of the case, but what I know, that in order for a drug trafficker like Dr. Ram to be sentenced to time served and for the thing to be sealed, is that the canary was there. The canary, he sang a nice tune. He sang a nice tune. People Bati got to bite. All of them who involved in the nastiness, all the criminal activities, time will come. The U.S. work in their own way. They're going to work in their own way. Names would have been called. I remember well in January 2023, when Dr. Ram left Guyana to travel to the U.S., and the authorities saw, they get, some of you might know, but they can know because they get passenger information, who come in, who left the country. All of those things are collected, just in case you don't know. Once you left through a legal port, the authorities, the police, immigration, and all of that, they know that you have left. When you're coming in, you get advanced passenger information, so they know that you are coming. Right? I understand a man cuss out, the man got ballistic when he heard that Dr. Ram was on a flight to the United States. A man in one of the law enforcement agencies. He went crazy, he cussed up and all sort of thing. And tell you, why did you allow the man to leave? If he had the power, he would have turned back the plane and prevent Dr. Ram from leaving. So Dr. Ram left, and Dr. Ram is now sentenced to time served. I want you all cogitate. Think about that. Think about that. You don't have to have law enforcement experience as we do to understand what transpired there, at least to speculate on what transpired there. They gave up. I'm sure that the man gave up names. And not only his thing will be sealed, because based on what he would have told them, I am sure they can get sealed indictment against a lot of people. Seal indictment against a lot of people. A lot of people fighting for travel. I understand some of them even fighting to travel to Letem, although Letem is a part of Guyana, because you might left to go to Letem and the plane end up in Brazil, and then you get a trip from Brazil straight to the US, free of cost. Free of cost. So I sitting back and I waiting. Because I know, having some knowledge of how the system works, that there's no way Dr. Ram, a convicted drug trafficker, would have been sentenced to time served if he did not give them valuable information. Never can be sentenced to time served and have the details redacted. You know what I mean by redacted? They blank it out, so nobody can see the names and dates and times that are in there. They seal, and whenever they release, they redact portion. So you can't see if he called somebody name, you can't see the name. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to give his closing remarks, and then we are going to move on. But Sisi, I find this one very, very sweet, man. Dr. Ram sentenced to time served. And then they seal the whole indictment. This is a matter that's finished, in terms of Dr. Ram. They seal it, and then they redact part that they release. What are your views, my friend?
Well, when I read it, I remember, and use of my board, and they used to call your board, man. So, canary, toto, a lot of whistling took place. That Ram whistling. and persons in there, as you say in the bati, got to be biting. Anyway, I read the papers yesterday and I saw a headline, I think Stabrook News, page 15. Police force training centers get international accreditation. And I will read the first paragraph. The United States Embassy in Georgetown, in collaboration with the panel American Development Foundation, PADF in bracket, and Guyana Police Force, GPF in bracket, have announced the successful accreditation of 3 GPF training centers located at Saudi Essequibo, Adventure Barbies, and Georgetown in a release from the U.S. Embassy stated. This is shocking news because my knowledge about accreditation is that it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that you have to go through, and you have to reach what we call gold standards or certain benchmarks. You still got to reach these gold standard benchmarks before you could be accredited. So I know when this process started, and they said it ended in June. Something is definitely not right there. And I know a bit about accreditation because when I was an attachment to the Jamaica Constabulary Staff College, Jamaica, the police force, they had applied for accreditation. And they had over 200 gold standards that they had to reach. And including those for the staff college. And I doubt whether they had achieved those standards. But here it is, we saying, I don't know if the people putting the horse before the cart, because some persons, some officers understand gone to Phoenix, Arizona, and maybe before they left, they receive accreditation, and accreditation for the three colleges in Barbies, Georgetown, and Essequibo. And then what I also read also is that they quoted a statement from the extended squatter. And here we said, talking about accreditation, this accomplishment is a major milestone in the implementation of the GPF's 2022-2026 strategic plan. The police get what we call a so-called strategic plan, where they cut and paste from all over the place. And it is not smart. Because any strategic plan has got to be smart. SMART. It's got to be specific. This is. It got to be measurable. It's got to be achievable. It got to be realistic, and it got to be task oriented. And the so-called plan where they get it is not smart at all. And they're saying that they achieve a strategic milestone. If it was in place since 2022, could the police say what milestone they have achieved since then? I'll talk more about it, and I'll write more about it very shortly. But this is total nonsense, and I can't understand that they have reached that gold standards were set, and they have achieved those gold standards. They have achieved those benchmarks. Those things take time, and they take some form of accreditation take years before you could be properly accredited. But maybe they shortcut the thing.
All right, CC, we're going to have to talk about that at some other time. Our time is almost up, but I want to close by saying, again, reminding us that Sergeant Vaughn was killed almost 3 months ago, Police Sergeant Vaughn. And up to now, we're not hearing anything. Remember they said accidental friendly fire, some around, they said was under close arrest, for killing a police sergeant, one of their colleagues. Almost 3 months now, and you can't hear anything about it. And remember, one of the reasons I tell you, people talk about PVPC, we talk about pedophiles, perverts, predators, criminals and corruption. That is what the C should stand for. The P is pedophiles, perverts, predators, and the C is either corruption or criminals. That's going on the top. And let me close by telling you remind you what Glenn Lal, GHK Lal, he said what we have today is not a government, but a gang of gangsters. For the most part, what Guyanese have for leaders today are nothing but out of control lunatics, pathological liars, unreconstructed racists, and political sadists. And if you want to hear like listening later today, you're going to hear it was a big bacchanal just the other day with the need and she Makume. Big comments the other day with the need and she Makume. I don't want to hear so a passing straight. A fella pull me and tell me wait. Same time Eden Osborne come off the bus. And it's now the Makume start to cuss. Aye. Yeah, so that is what Eden and she Makume. Tune in later. You are going to hear it if you have the constitution to sit down and listen to lies. Well, folks, as I indicated earlier, today, Thursday, the makeup.
One love, Delta9 family. Welcome back to the flight. Now, word on the ground from the top cops themselves. They got a lot of going on. A lot of people are whistling. They got a lot of whistling thunder, a lot of fire red, a lot of tower going on the ground. A lot of people is giving out these details that's going to make a lot of persons end up in a cage. More than likely, allegedly, the data is singing like a bird and giving out information that will put a lot of persons in a compromising situation. More than likely, we're going to see cases coming forward. More than likely, it's going to be large ones. Sometimes we might not even expect these persons to be implicated because a lot of things were redacted and a lot of things were sealed. So it's a secret. It's a big secret what was discussed. But we know that it's time served. We know that, look, whatever was said was information allegedly that was good enough to make sure that the man walk. But who are going to find themselves now? Who are the ones that are going to find themselves now in situations that only a whistler could put you in? But guess what? That's not the only whistle in the country. They got other persons as well. They got some of them as well that the top cop was talking about from before. I know if you remember this story coming up right here when he was conversating about what was going on with Caesar. We're going to get more into that right now. Let's hear directly from the top cop them as they expose what was going on with Caesar, because we know that he was questioned for a number of hours, allegedly, and then let go. But let's get into it right now. Let's hear directly what's going on the ground. And if you haven't already, remember, hit that subscription button so that you can stay updated on everything that's trending in Guyana and the diaspora. One love.
And the fact, let me say this too, the fact that he was released from custody and made to continue traveling within the U.S., meaning a takeaway visa, that is even more cause of concern. Because you won't know what bargain would have been struck, what deal he would have made. Because the likes of Caesar Body is going to save themselves. As you know, they'll tell you, save yourself and let your brother go astray. Save yourself and let your brother go astray. The man know a lot of story about senior police officers. You know a lot of story about senior government functionaries. And if the feds had him there for any length of time, as I've said, it must be targeted questioning. The feds is not like these people we get in Guyana asking us a stupid question. They will be targeted questioning about specific incidents, about specific things they would have questioned him about. And I say again, the fact that he was allowed to continue to travel and might still be in the U.S. should be cause for concern of all of those people like the vice president who nonchalantly say, oh, it's not a matter for the government, it's a matter for the police hierarchy. to deal with. Did they seize his phone as they did with May Thomas, the PS? Did they take his phone to mine all the information on that or those instruments? Did they do that? Yeah, I might want to ask him if they took his phone from him. Because let me tell you this. If they took his phone, they're going to be able to recover all the information. If you believe he raised and he got to recover all the information. I know of that technology. I know of that technology. I was part of that operation, not for the force, for another institution. So I know of that technology that can bring back everything that you believe that you deleted from the phone. And then, again, I say, why was his visa not revoked? Is it that a deal was cut? I want to say to all of those people now that, again, I say, you got to be worried. You have to be worried. And even if and when Caesar returns, you're going to be uncomfortable. I know you're going to question him. He's going to tell you all what he wants you to know. And he's not going to tell you everything. And I guess you're going to be afraid when you are in his presence. And further, I say not. Let me ring in Mr. Conway to have his say on this. You see, the head of the major crime unit of the Ghana Police Force is detained at JFK by the U.S. authorities, questioned for a prolonged period of time. And the vice president is telling us, oh, there's not a matter for the government, there's a matter for the police command to deal with. What are your views, my brother?
And that'll be of major concern, not only to the Ghana Police Force, but the government. And when you look at it, there are similar facts. You mentioned about the Bacchus story, and then we had the paper shots. Rembo Bascom made damning allegations, and instead of they listen to him, they rush with breakneck speed to debunk his story, and they did a horrible job. I'm talking about the extended squatter and the head of the CID, and they tried to discredit him. Well, a major thing they say that he living in a house rent-free in Essequibo, which is owned by a businessman. So he's compromised. And then shortly after, this Ghana Police Force received 10 vehicles from the same businessman. So if Caesar was compromised, it means to say the Ghana Police Force was also compromised. And we got to be concerned, because the U.S. don't just pull you in just like that. They wait until they build a case against you. And if you watch, all them drug people are pulling for drug trafficking, none never get acquitted. All get convicted. They'll have the information there. And Paul, you're a board man. Perhaps you might know. Perhaps Caesar maybe whistle like a canary, or whistle like a toa. The thing is frightening, and they got to be of concern, because they won't tell the police force or the government what they discuss with Caesar. That's not their policy. But Caesar will talk, and Caesar would want to ensure that to each his own. He want to ensure that me bearing chair for nobody. Like say, why you want for say? And he had to whistle to their tune, make that they allow him to remain in the States, and then cancel his visa, like how they cancel the former PS Home Affairs visa. So lots of things with the major crime unit. And as you mentioned, they were all transferred out of the CID, and with the change of government, they all, including the head of the CID, returned to CID, returned to head of the crime unit. So it is cause for concern, and I'm sure many government officials they're uneasy. And not only government officials, many members of the Ghana Police Force, including senior persons, one who the Alessandro USA if they make him a deputy commissioner or commissioner, they're going to cancel his visa like how they canceled Green visa because of his association with certain members of the business community who the United States have interest in. So let's wait and see what's going to happen, Paul.
Yeah, let's wait and see. And I know that we not have to wait too long. But you said the man, here, let me say this again. You said the man might have sung like a tower. One of my favorite boards when I used to mind board, tower, beautiful singing. Some you call him bastard, whatever you want to call it. But the whole story is, if, as we now know, Caesar was detained by the feds at in JFK. I understand now only one federal agency. It might have been more than one federal agencies questioning him. My information suggests that one of those agencies might have been the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Authority. I don't know. I'm telling you. And CC, you said something that the US would not tell you what they were questioning about. Is Caesar have to tell you? But let me tell you this. Caesar can be asked to explain what he was questioning about. But I'm sure some of the things he can lock off, some things he's not gonna make clear. And you know, we don't have polygraph in Guyana. It would have been a good thing when you question him, you put him on a polygraph or a lie detector test to see when he's dancing and when he's squirming. He's gonna say what he has been programmed to say. And despite, I say again, despite this cavalier or nonchalant attitude by the vice president last Thursday at his press conference, and I'll put in quotes, press conference, I know a lot of people worried. A lot of people worried, including some of those persons who his name was called in by Bascom about allegations of corruption and so on. They got to be worried. They got to be worried. If they're not worried, I challenge them to jump on a plane and say you're going to Miami if you have a visa. Jump on a plane to go to the US on vacation at this time. Jump on a plane if you're not afraid. Or if you go to Trinidad or somewhere, you can't remember there's the rendition. Remember rendition? Remember the concept of rendition? Where Roger Khan was arrested in Suriname and the Surinamese extradited him to Guyana via Trinidad. And when the plane touched down in Trinidad, the feds were there to pick him up and take him to the United States. Enough of them got to be afraid to travel, not only out of Guyana, but even to the border locations. Because, you know, you might end up, you left to say, you believe you land at Letem, and you land across in Brazil, and you get in a free flight to the US with free orange suit and all of that. You're well dressed up, you're well decorated. So, as again I say, despite the fact that they're telling you that, no. And don't ever forget this man who was arrested. What's his name? Yeah, let me out this student. The man who they're in US custody. Well, the custody, because I think he got ankle bracelet and he might be moving around within certain places. Who went to the States and he was picked up and questioned. I can't remember his name now. Somebody can remind me just now who his name. The man from, I think, was crossed the river a few months ago. He went to the States and people said he was singing that he went there to cut a deal because he was a U.S. citizen and his passport expired. And Dataram, thank you very much, student. Dataram, Barry Dataram. Remember Barry Dataram? You see, these things all have links. You might not recognize it. We might not recognize it. But Dataram was there or is there. He would have been questioned at length. I am sure that he would have given up quite a lot. You had the PS passing through, other phone seized. That would have been mined for information. So all of these things are adding up now. All of these things are adding up. Perhaps the chickens are coming home to roost. So, Mr. Vice President, you could convey the impression that you and others should not be concerned. I know different. And other people know different. That you all have every reason to be concerned, especially in light of the recent questioning by the United Nations human rights body. All of these things are, in my view, all of these things have some kind of link. All of these things have some kind of link. And yet, till when I look in my crystal ball, I can see in the first instance, people squirming. People in Guyana right now, senior police officers, senior government functionaries, the fact that Caesar was detained, they are tremendously worried. They're going to give you the impression outwardly, oh, there's no need for concern, as the impression the vice president tried to give, no need to concern. But I know that they are concerned. Barry Dataram in the US, he went there most likely to strike a deal. May Thomas Toussaint, the PS Home Affairs, detained and questioned, or phone seized, or visa revoked. Now the head of the major crime unit in the Guyana police force. Major crime, and again, I got to emphasize, for all intent, he's what? Perhaps the second most senior man in the CID. Because you have the crime chief, who is an assistant commissioner. You have E, who is the head of the major crime as a superintendent. There might be other people with the same rank. But in terms of responsibility, in terms of the role, he is seen to be perhaps the second most senior man in the CID. And this man is detained, I got to emphasize, and questioned, and allowed to remain in the US. You know, again, this is significant. The man is allowed to remain in the US, which is
a natural way to stay ready, baby. Because I'm ready for you, Mr. C.
The ultimate male supplement, men's total wellness formula, packed with essential nutrients for men's health.
She'll call you Mr. C.
I believe some of these things that are done, they're doing, they are deliberately trying to do things so that Daimler gets the benefit, and at the end of the day, they get the politically aligned DPP to say that because of these mistakes, or because of these reasons, no charge should be brought against Daimler.